What if you were incarcerated at the age of 55? What if you were incarcerated for doing the right thing? I wish to speak on behalf of the example of a woman who faced insurmountable challenges in her life. Challenges that would normally take us to the depths of despair and cause us to lose all hope in humanity. My mentor, Corrie ten Boom's life experience speaks to us to the capability of people of doing both good and evil, and also about our capability to overcome obstacles and to promote love and forgiveness no matter what anybody does to us. Corrie ten Boom was born in April of 1892 in Amsterdam. She was a Dutch Calvinist Christian. Her faith inspired her to serve their society, which she did by offering shelter, food, clothing, and money. And her faith also gave her the firm belief that the Jews were precious to God and that all people were equally created. This belief is what drove her to overcome her challenges and to pursue her ministry in the later years of her life. You can learn about Corrie ten Boom by looking her up at CorrieTenBoomWikipedia.com, or you can watch the story of her life and her ministry at YouTube by looking up her movie, The Hiding Place. Her hardship began when the Germans invaded Netherlands in World War II. Because of her belief that the Jews were the chosen people of God, her family became very active in the Dutch underground, harboring Dutch Jewish refugees from the German army Gestapo. They were turned in by a Dutch informant, and somehow God took care of all of those people that they were hiding. None of them were found. None of them died. They were all survivors. And they were all safe, even though Corrie and her family ended up being incarcerated. She spent a year in prison, and Corrie was released on God's protection. She was told afterwards that it was a clerical error that gave her her exit. And just 1 week after she left the concentration camp, all of the women that were her age were sent to the gas chamber. She returned to Germany in 1946, and she opened her doors to mentally disabled who were still running from being executed. And when she returned to the Netherlands, she opened up a rehabilitation center for concentration camp survivors. And this concentration survival camp was actually operated and run on the same abandoned concentration campground that Corrie had served her time in. This is an example of how God takes the things that are meant for evil and he turns them around for the good of others. This is a promise that we find in the book of Genesis, chapter 15 and verse 20. As for you, you meant evil for me, but God meant it for the good, to bring it that many people should remain alive. She met with and she forgave many German soldiers who were employed on the concentration camp that she was at. One of these was very cruel to her sister, Betsie ten Boom. So cruel that Betsie ended up dying at the concentration camp. Her entire family actually died in the concentration camp. Then she went on to write books and to travel the world as a public speaker in over 60 countries. And she died on her 91st birthday, April the 15th, 1983. I learned about Corrie whenever I was incarcerated myself, and the first thing that stuck out to me was that she was the same age as I was when she went to prison. I learned from her that we're never too old to pursue our hopes and dreams, and that God's hand is always on our life, and we always have his protection. So we have to just trust God and hang on, even through our bottoms. I learned that forgiveness is very important, and that unforgiveness is crippling, and that God's word is true, and that his promises are true and they always come. And God is able, and he is willing, and he will turn the evil that happens to us over into good for us. His lamp is truly a light unto my feet, and I too plan to spend the rest of my life pursuing enriching the lives of others from my experience. I encourage you to investigate Corrie ten Boom's life also. The most powerful words that I think I ever heard her quoted by her were, "There is no pit so deep that God is not deeper still." Thank you, Corrie ten Boom.